Item number 12, water supply evaluation for 2014.
It's me again.
Oh, good.
So over the last couple of months, we received phone calls about, what is the status of the city's water supply. And then last Friday, the governor made it very easy for us by declaring a drought. In the meantime, we had this presentation ready to go. So for Yuba City, the water sources, we have a State Water Resources Control Board license, a State Water Resources Control Board permit, a contract with North Yuba Water District, a contract with the Department of Water Resources State Water Project, and a backup groundwater well. All of these total 32,848 acre-feet on an annual basis. And there are restrictions in terms of time of use on 3 of the contracts. So the State Water Resources Control Board licenses and permits, those are our primary winter supply water contracts. The North Yuba Water District is our summer supply. And then the DWR State Water Project we use year-round, but mainly to fill in, to supplement our summer supplies. In terms of water source reliability, historically licensed 13855 and the North Yuba Water District contracts have been reliable sources of water. Water restrictions have been applied to license 13855 twice, and no restrictions have been applied to the North Yuba Water District contract. Conversely, restrictions are routinely applied to permit 18558 and the DWR State Water Project contract. Permit 18558 is typically just restricted where it's either shut off in May or shut off in June, depending upon the amount of rainfall received for that year. However, last November, the city did receive a letter stating that this permit is curtailed, which means we can't pull any water under this permit until further notice. The DWR State Water Project is also typically subject to restrictions. On average, we receive about 65% of the allocated water. However, the most severe curtailment occurred in 1990 and 1991 when the city's allocation was reduced to 20%. Again, last November, the city received a letter from DWR stating that the city's allotment for 2014 is 5%. So with this in mind, the city's annual allotment for 2014 is currently set at 23,073 acre-feet, which includes the 5% allocation from the DWR State Water Project. And fortunately, we have carryover water under the DWR State Water Project. So we do not utilize all of our water on an annual basis from our DWR State Water Project, which allows us to carry over the excess, and then it's reset whenever San Luis Obispo spills. It goes back to 0, and then you bank it again, and then so you go through that process. So the city is allowed to use this water, the supplemental water, as a source for 2014. So based upon all of this, for 2014, on paper, we have an allotment of 23,073 acre-feet, and that's including using the backup groundwater well at the water treatment plant. So to give you an idea of how supply compares to demand, so if our 2014 water supply is 23,073 acre-feet, our 2013 water demand, so that's no conservation in place, was 18,178 acre-feet. Since that time, the city has installed irrigation wells at 7 parks, our largest parks within the city. And so these numbers really don't reflect the fact that we've installed those irrigation wells. So as I mentioned last Friday, the governor declared a drought state of emergency in which he issued a proclamation requesting that Californians reduce water usage by 20% and that local municipalities implement their water shortage conservation plans. So our water shortage conservation plan is outlined in the city's urban water management plan, in which there are 4 stages that range in reduction from 20% to 50%. So here's a table showing the various stages and the demand of the consumption reduction methods. Those include demand reduction education, voluntary rationing, use prohibitions, plumbing fixture replacement, mandatory rationing, reduced water pressure, and water shortage pricing. So it varies from stages 1 to 4. Stage 2 for the city involves voluntary rationing and demand reduction education, which should result in a reduction of 20 to 30% of water demand. The city's website has a water conservation page that has tips for how customers can reduce water consumption. The water treatment plant has a limited supply of water conservation kits that are available on a first-come, first-served basis for customers to install in their homes. Those kits include aerators, low-flow shower head, a bag you can place in your toilet to reduce the amount of water that you use when you flush your toilet. And then finally, staff will send out a utility bill insert to highlight water conservation resources. If we have to move into stage 3, where we get into mandatory use prohibitions, the following prohibitions are enacted. Spraying down of sidewalks, driveways, parking lots, buildings, and other impermeable surfaces are prohibited. Car washing other than on owner's residential property or a commercial car wash facility is prohibited. Lawn watering is limited to twice per week. Leaking pipes have to be repaired promptly. Water shall not run off beyond property lines. All evaporative coolers must be of the recirculating type. Public agencies and commercial industrial users have to submit an irrigation plan to Public Works for approval. An automatic shut-off nozzle shall be attached to all hoses. Commercial nurseries shall only be allowed to water enough to maintain plant materials. Decorative water facilities, such as Town Fountain, the spray parks at Regency Park, Shanghai Garden Park are turned off. And then all restaurants shall furnish water only at the customer's request. So at this point in time, staff is recommending to implement stage 2 of the city's water shortage conservation plan, monitor water demands, and then implement stage 3 if necessary to achieve 20% reduction. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Diana?
Great report.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great report. I think it's cognizant for all of us as citizens of this wonderful city to make sure that we can do everything in our powers. And just like you've mentioned, is making sure that the sprinkler heads aren't broken and they're not running, water's not running in the curbs and gutters, and just do whatever we can at this point in time to help and assist in preserving water. So.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
And just a comment I'd like to make is I'd like to see the city be the first step forward on this project. There's nothing, I think, more disturbing than to ask the citizens to partake in conservation when the city itself does not. And that would be to look at all of our irrigation times, frequency, and so forth to also meet, I think, the higher end of that category that's being recommended at this point.
I know Brad McIntyre, who's now in charge of parks, he's already working with staff to reduce irrigation at parks in the lighting and landscape maintenance districts. At the water treatment plant, which Mike Palucci is here, he's the Deputy Public Works Director, they are changing backwash cycles to try to reduce the amount of backwash water that's being, I hate to use this term, but wasted. It goes to ponds. And so as a city, we are looking at what we can do to make sure that we don't make the news in terms of irrigating. I saw a news report in Sacramento where they were irrigating a park for 3 hours. Is awful. So we definitely don't want to be that agency.
So apparently last night we were watching the same news channels. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana.